Tonight, new violence and fresh anger after the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. The clashes in a splintered America over immigration crackdowns.
I saw a woman who was clearly trying to get away.
What we are learning about the ICE officer and the woman he shot dead, and where the U.S. Vice President stands.
What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law?
Oh my God!
What triggered a tense standoff and this shocking chain of events in Montreal. And the Made in Canada machine designed to cut through disaster zones.
It is part of our way of getting the right aid to the right people at the right time. That's the next gen innovation.
Why a relief group says this could transform rescues and save lives.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. Protests are spreading across America tonight over immigration enforcement after yet another shooting by federal agents, this time in Portland. The Department of Homeland Security revealing it happened during what they call a targeted vehicle stop, alleging the passenger was an undocumented Venezuelan affiliated with a prostitution ring and recently involved in a Portland shooting, and that the driver, a gang member, tried to run over the agents, prompting a, quote, defensive shot. Late tonight, the city's mayor saying this.
The administration is trying to divide us, to pit communities against one another, to make us fear one another. Portland, this is a moment to hold each other close.
The incident coming a day after a 37-year-old mother of a 6-year-old boy was killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin on the anguish and outrage.
Tensions are high in Minneapolis. Armed, masked ICE officers using pepper spray and deploying tear gas on protesters. Several clashes erupting as outrage grows, demanding ICE get out of their city. After the fatal shooting of 37-year-old Renee Good, a mother who neighbors say had just dropped off her son.
I watched in absolute horror as I saw a woman who was clearly trying to get away, gunned down.
Homeland Security says Good was blocking ICE agents with her SUV. Video shows an officer grabbing the door, another stepping in front of the vehicle. As it accelerates, multiple shots are fired. The agent involved, a 10-year veteran of the Special Response Team, was previously hit and dragged 6 months ago while trying to arrest an undocumented sex offender at a traffic stop. But even before an investigation, the Trump administration declared the shooting was justified. The president told the New York Times Renee Good had behaved horribly, and then she ran him over. The vice president insisted Good was part of a paid network of far-left radicals. Her death, a tragedy of her own making, he said.
What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed.
Contradictory versions inflaming America's divisions, and now the FBI has blocked Minneapolis officials from taking part in the investigation.
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment.
Tonight, Governor Walz authorized the Minnesota National Guard to be staged and ready to act as a buffer and to keep the peace as demonstrators take to the streets again. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Dramatic scenes caught on video in Nevada after a man allegedly tried to run over police officers with a stolen bulldozer. Officers opened fire as the vehicle barreled towards them. The suspect on the run after allegedly stealing the bulldozer from a construction site. Later on, it can be seen ramming the police cruisers, prompting the officers to open fire again, eventually boarding the vehicle and taking the driver, who was shot twice, into custody. Back in this country, a dramatic scene unfolded outside a Montreal metro station where police tried to subdue a man allegedly armed with a knife.
Oh my God!
Rubber bullets and a taser were fired before two cruisers collided head-on, while police say they were trying to corner the suspect. They say that one officer shot at least once in the direction of the 34-year-old. The man, along with three officers, were transported to hospital with minor injuries. U.S. senators are trying to rein in Donald Trump's ability to attack Venezuela again. This, as the U.S. president told the New York Times, America could operate in that country for years to come. CTV's senior correspondent Judy Trin on how that decision could benefit another superpower.
5 Republican senators joined the Democrats to advance a bill aimed at forcing Donald Trump to seek congressional approval before taking more military action against Venezuela.
The Senate must act to stop Donald Trump's folly.
The prospect of a lengthy intervention looms large. Trump was asked by the New York Times how long the U.S. planned to control Venezuela. Only time will tell, he answered.
That's all to the good from the point of view of Beijing. What they don't want is a concerted effort focusing U.S. military power on the Indo-Pacific.
After the capture of Nicolas Maduro, substantial American forces remain in Latin America. With some of those resources redirected from the Pacific, China could feel more emboldened to expand its sphere of influence. In December, Beijing conducted massive military drills to practice blockading Taiwan.
If China were, for example, to do some kind of snatch and grab operation to pick up the president of Taiwan and bring him back to China, on what basis would the United States object to that?
Beijing calls the takeover of Venezuela a violation of international law. Caracas also owes China $10 billion in oil debt, which is at risk. Analysts say China could gain international support at the expense of the U.S.
So this really plays into their diplomatic and political narrative, especially with the Global South.
Chinese President Xi Jinping and Trump are expected to meet at least 4 times this year, including a state visit by Trump to Beijing in April. Omar.
All right, Judy, thank you. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is taking aim at Denmark and Europe for not securing Greenland from potential Russian or Chinese missile strikes.
Have the Europeans, have the Danes done a proper job of securing Greenland and making sure it can continue to serve as an anchor for world security and missile defense? And the answer is obviously they haven't. They've underinvested in their security. They haven't done a good job of securing that area, that landmass.
U.S. officials are actively discussing purchasing the Danish territory, even suggesting the idea of a military takeover. Greenland and Denmark envoys are urging the Trump administration to drop those threats. U.S. President Donald Trump has renewed a threat to hit Iran, quote, very hard if its security forces kill protesters during ongoing unrest. At least 39 people have been killed in clashes across the country, with more than 2,000 detained, according to activists. There are also reports that internet access and telephone lines in Iran have been cut. Iran's economy has struggled under international sanctions, and these protests began after a collapse of its currency last month. The U.S. sparking more global concern tonight over its decision to pull support from more than 6 different international organizations. On the list, many groups under the United Nations umbrella. CTV's senior political correspondent Michael Couture on how the Trump administration is justifying the move.
The Secretary General regrets the announcement by the White House.
While expressing disappointment at the move by the U.S., the UN spokesperson also stressed that funding to a large number of United Nations bodies is mandatory for the United States.
Member states who've who've joined this club have to pay the dues.
The UN says Washington currently owes some $1.5 billion.
I call it the deadbeat dad phenomenon. When people refuse to pay their obligations, it sends a terrible message to the rest of the membership.
In a memo shared by the White House, the decision to withdraw the U.S. from 66 UN and international organizations came after a review of which ones are thought to be contrary to the interests of the United States.
The U.S. has been complaining for many years of the mismanagement of a lot of those organizations, the fact that in fact there are problems with their objectives, but also how they run.
The U.S. has not stepped away from major organizations like the World Bank and the UN Refugee Agency, but it is a blow to groups that did have American support. In a statement to CTV News, the executive secretary of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change called the move a colossal own goal, adding it can only harm the U.S. economy, jobs, and living standards as wildfires, floods, megastorms, and droughts get rapidly worse. While most U.S. allies haven't commented on the move, a spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the value of international organizations lies in upholding shared interests, not national self-interest. Omar?
All right, Mike, thank you. And the Trump administration is just hours away from a ruling that could flip the script on its tariff policy. The U.S. Supreme Court set to decide tomorrow whether Trump's international tariffs are legal. CTV's Abigail Beeman on what that verdict could mean for Canada and the businesses who've shelled out millions already.
Are they legal or are they not?
That's the big question that could be answered by the U.S. Supreme Court Friday about the American president's decision to impose so-called IEEPA tariffs on countries including Canada. This trade expert says if the court strikes them down, attention will be on what happens to the money collected, valued as high as $150 billion U.S. dollars.
If it's supposed to then go back to those who it has been collected from illegally, then our clients and businesses in general will be looking to see some of that money refunded.
There's not a lot of optimism about a likely messy refund situation. Meanwhile, new numbers from October show Canada recorded a smaller than expected trade deficit overall.
The big takeaway is that things are kind of not moving all that much with the U.S. in terms of overall trade. They're kind of in a holding pattern. What we saw in contrast is that exports were through the roof for non-U.S. countries that we're sending goods to.
Donald Trump is still extolling the virtues of tariffs, posting Tuesday, "Thank you, Mr. Tariff. Pray that the United States Supreme Court allows our country to continue its unprecedented march toward unparalleled greatness."
I think that the U.S. administration is going to continue to impose tariffs, irrespective of the outcome.
But the Supreme Court could send a wider message about the American president's power.
It will be very important to see how the Supreme Court rules, to see whether they're striking down a lot of those broad presidential powers that they might use to, use the next piece of legislation to support tariffs.
The Canadian government isn't saying much about the expected ruling. A source tells CTV News they are letting the judicial process follow its course and will continue to get ready for the upcoming free trade review. Omar?
All right, Abigail, thank you. And the trade war, a big reason Canadians are changing their flying habits with fewer trips south of the border. A new report reveals airlines across the country are significantly scaling back on U.S. routes. Nationwide data from aviation firm Cirium shows Canada-U.S. flight volumes dropped more than 14% compared to last year.
62% of Canadians said they would not be traveling to the U.S. for 2026. And part of those reasons was politics, exchange rate, as well as border hassles.
Experts say Canadian passengers should expect more overseas options as demand grows for international travel. NASA is taking the rare step of ending a space mission early and bringing the crew from the International Space Station back to Earth after an onboard medical emergency.
I've come to the decision that it's in the best interest of our astronauts to return Crew 11 ahead of their planned departure.
The crew is comprised of 2 Americans, 1 Russian, and 1 Japanese astronaut. Due to privacy concerns, NASA won't say which astronaut is affected or the nature of the medical situation. Coming up, weighing the fallout of weight loss drugs.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
How quickly the pounds can come back when you stop those weight loss shots. Drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have created a revolution in weight loss, but a clearer picture is coming to light tonight about what happens when you stop taking them. Here's CTV's Adrian Gobriel.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
Slick commercials promise long-lasting results.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
Though a new study suggests that might not be the case for those who decide to stop using a semaglutide medication. This British Medical Journal review found that cessation of weight management medications is followed by rapid weight regain and reversal of beneficial effects.
All of the improvements that they have in their blood pressure, their blood lipids, their blood glucose also go back to baseline.
The findings reinforce the fact that semaglutide is supposed to be a lifelong medication, not a quick fix weight loss drug.
GLP-1 analogs are for people who have disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or pre-diabetes. You're at high risk of medical conditions. That's who it's for.
The study found that those who stopped exercising or ended a more conventional diet regained weight at a slower rate.
They regain all of their weight within about 4 years, whereas they regain all of their weight after they stop the drug within about a year and a half.
This comes as the waistlines of Canadians are expanding at a record pace. This recently released StatsCan report found that 68% of Canadians aged 18 to 70 were classified as obese due to their body mass index known as BMI. An internal medicine specialist says semaglutide is a life-changing drug for those who really need it.
What we don't want to do is demonize a whole class of medications. This world of just anyone using it, these GLP-1s at any time, that's problematic.
This comes as the patent for the drug has expired here in Canada. Generic versions could hit the shelves in the months ahead, making it cheaper and more accessible. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead. Why the shutdown of a Vancouver drugstore is a symptom of a bigger problem. The looming closure of a Vancouver drugstore is getting a lot of attention, and CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson explains why.
In a neighborhood where sirens are too often the soundtrack, this popular drug and department store will soon close for good.
But I will definitely miss this place. They got good deals here sometimes.
It still is a lovely area though, you know, and there's a lot of people that live around here that need services.
The opening of the London Drugs 16 years ago in Vancouver's historic Gastown was part of a new era for the neighborhood near the notorious downtown East Side.
We live right upstairs, one of the reasons why we moved here.
But London Drugs says that vision never materialized. The store lost tens of millions of dollars, and now is just the latest closure in the area being blamed on rampant crime.
We can no longer see a pathway that store can be sustainable. The combined issues of theft, vandalism, violence against our employees, customers.
It's a problem plaguing cities all over BC, rooted in drug addiction, mental illness, and a lack of affordable housing.
There are people in that neighborhood that are so deep into their addiction that they can't advocate for themselves anymore. And we really need to be taking a compassionate approach and getting those people the help that they need.
The province tells CTV 2 new facilities are adding 100 involuntary care beds. It has poured millions into policing, and so has the city, which says it urgently needs more provincial help. Businesses like London Drugs are trying to adapt if they can afford to.
Retail organizations are doing whatever they can, more security guards, more safety measures for employees, but it's a very, very tough nut to crack.
This London Drugs location will close February 1st, a blow to the neighborhood many people here fear will not be the last. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Still ahead, how this Made in Canada machine could revolutionize rescue missions. We are closing tonight with a new feature we're calling Assignment Canada. Good news stories about extraordinary Canadians, products, and ideas. Tonight, we profile an extreme vehicle one disaster relief group says will revolutionize rescues, and it's made right here in Canada. It may just look like a souped-up tractor, but this is a kind of Canadian hero, a 5,000-pound hero that can revolutionize rescue efforts in Ontario. And it's the new love of Rahul Singh's life.
These are beasts, like they're extreme all-terrain vehicles.
Singh is the founder of Global Medic, a disaster relief charity based in Toronto.
Good. So
He is a recently retired paramedic who founded the group back in 1998. Since then, Global Medic has helped 6 million people in 90 countries with the help of 7,000 volunteers across Canada. And for the ones based in Ontario, at least, this tractor is going to make their work easier.
So what's behind you?
This one's called the Argo Sasquatch. This to me is the future. At Global Medic, we always want to innovate as part of our way of getting the right aid to the right people at the right time. That's the next gen innovation for us.
The Sasquatch can swim, climb, and cut through snow and ice, invaluable features for a Canadian rescue machine.
We know with climate change, we get these significant weather events. So if people are trapped by snow and we got to get in and rescue them, sure, we can come in by snowmobile, right? We can pull drivers off the highway. But if grandma slips and breaks her hip, we can't pull her out on a snowmobile. Make sure you grab it and you're going to this side.
We go for a test drive with Rahul on a farm field about an hour north of Toronto.
Perfect. Awesome. You're in? All right.
Inside, a computer that controls key functions, like deflating tires for more traction on terrain that's especially challenging.
So now you want to go to trail. So you either push there or there.
So this will automatically adjust the tire pressure?
Yeah.
It's a feature we needed when we got into a tough spot.
There you go. And look at it. It's incredible.
Requiring a 180-degree turn.
It's almost like it's got legs, right? And it's just slowly going from one side to the other.
Don't you think you should be driving into that ditch?
Yeah.
The $250,000 dynamo is funded by the Ontario government, and you might be surprised to learn the Sasquatch is made right here in Canada.
This completed machine weighs just over 5,000 pounds.
The factory employs about 150 workers, but despite their product's capabilities, because of U.S. tariffs on raw materials, they've had to pass on higher costs to buyers and lay off about 5% of their workforce.
We've had a slight reduction in some of our labor. Everyone's happy to be here. We're making a good product. And so we know that it's serving the greater good out there in the marketplace, but still apprehension is on everyone's mind on what the future holds.
The company says they have something to look forward to. The head of sales says the rest of the world is noticing them.
Where have you been able to branch out and sort of make some inroads?
Europe, Australia, New Zealand, countries around the world, we're definitely seeing business pick up.
We've got one and I want more.
But if Rahul Singh has a say, the Sasquatch is a homegrown machine that should pique interest right here in Canada.
Whether it's the storms, whether it's the snow, the ice storm, or the flooding, we know more people will be in harm's way. We're going to be responding a lot more and helping people, and we're going to need better tools right here in Ontario. So we should be using the Ontario-made solution for right here in Ontario.
And if you have a story idea you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at assignmentcanada@bellmedia.ca. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching and good night.